Hello, my name is Paul Davila III. I currently reside here in San Antonio, Texas. This is a testimony about an event that happened to me in 2012. I hope you guys are inspired by an amazing story. So with that said, let's get started. This is the first year, chapter 1. I'll begin by saying that it was 2012 of March where I wound up in the hospital due to multiple conditions, and one of them was diabetes. And I didn't take care of myself enough to be able to, prevent what happened to me. But I want to tell you guys from my life experience what God and Jesus has done with me with all the things that happened to me. So I hope you enjoy this story. And like I said, I was in the hospital in 2012 March at the University Health Center here in San Antonio, Texas. That day, I got home from work and my foot was already infected, and it was severely affected with gangrene and everything. It traveled up my left leg all the way up. It started with an ulcer on my foot, and it traveled all the way up, and it infected my stomach and everything, and my organs. And I was really sick. I had so much against me that night, but I was trying, to do the best I could with this condition without knowing a lot about it and doing anything about this. But as I moved on that night, I said if it wasn't for people who cared for me and went to look for me at my apartment that day, my nephew that was working for me is really responsible because he went and told my sister, he went and told people that I was very sick and that my apartment smelled really ugly and nasty because I had infection all over the apartment from walking around dragging myself, and as I was deteriorating. And I remember that evening when I was home, I fell a couple of times, and my nephew picked me up, and I just told him, put me in my bed and let me sleep. And I thought things would be a little bit better. And he took off, and I told him not to tell anybody. And that's the first thing he did. He went and told my sister. My sister told my brother, my cousins. And then they called the ambulance, and everybody showed up at my apartment that evening. And I was really lucky that they did, I said, because I was severely sick. And I remember that they were all telling me and trying to convince me to go to the hospital because the EMS guys told them that if I didn't go, that I was gonna die, that I was really sick, and I needed to go to the hospital that night. And they were going to try to just save my life because they were saying that I was just too sick, that it looked really bad for me. So I was fighting them and saying all kinds of ugly things to them because I was upset. I didn't want nobody there, and I'm happy that they convinced me to finally give in and go to the hospital. The last thing I remember is that my brother looked at me crying and telling me, please go to the hospital. He says, because if you don't, you're gonna die. And I looked at him, and all I remember is that my eyes flipped, and I fell back, and I passed out. The infection was already taking effect, where it was about to end my life. I remember going in the ambulance and them following me to the hospital, getting to the hospital that night, and I remember the doctor said, we need to go straight into surgery. We need to go straight into surgery because they examined me and they said they saw how severe diabetes had affected me and was about to take my life. They told me several things. The doctor, he says, we're going to go into surgery, remove your leg all the way up, and give you antibiotics and everything to fight the infection and see if you'll get better. So I cried when the doctor told me that they were going to take my leg and I was going straight into surgery that night and to remove my whole leg. And I remember, while I was going through all that, I was thinking I didn't want to die, and I was crying. I said, because this is the end of my life and you only have one chance to live. I found myself in a situation fighting for my life that night. And after the surgery was done, I was on life support for a couple of weeks. I said I was only about less than 100 pounds that night with the infection and feeling feverish and throwing up and, losing consciousness. I was going. But I always had a lot of love for God and Jesus Christ. And that night when the doctors told me all that, I suffered a heart attack during the surgery. I had everything against me that night. I was down to my last breath. And I just remember that I cried out to God. And God came to me with his voice. It's hard to explain his voice, but you know it's God when he talks to you through your heart. And I was crying out to him that night. And the Lord came to me and he said, I'm here, Paul. I'm here because I heard you cry out for me. He says, I know you're sick. He goes, I know you have everything against you. He says, but I'm here to tell you that I love you, Paul. And to tell you that I'm going to change your life. And I'm going to use you. And I'm going to give you the biggest purpose that I give to people to do for me. He says, I believe in you. He says, and I will help you get there. He says, but I need you to do one thing for me before we get started. He goes, you need to surrender your life. Get on your knees and surrender your life to me. He says, and I will forgive you of all your sins, and you can start a new life with me. I said, yes, Lord. I believe in you and love you and respect you. I said, I surrender my life. Because all I ever did with my life before this was mess up my life in so many ways. But the Lord was always with me because I had so many things happen to me in my life. And that's another story. I said, but this is the main story that really it hurts me a lot because I lost my leg. So after that, God, told me my future and showed me my future. And as I was getting better, in the hospital, I started to have visions and these things started to happen for me slowly. I started to get better. And then, I spent 4 months in the hospital at the university. And let me tell you, those 4 months was really hard on me. Really scary. To go through all the things that I had to go through. With the technology nowadays, they did all kinds of tests on me. And it was really hard what they did to me to help me get better. But I understand now, everything I had to go through in the hospital in those 4 months. And every night was scary, being in the hospital. I experienced a lot of things and seeing a lot of different people with so many life-threatening things that happened to them and winding up in the hospital just like me. So, but I was there by myself, and I didn't have too much support from people because a lot of people didn't know where I was or what happened to me. And my own family, they were there for a little while, but then they disappeared. And I didn't see them anymore. And they only did so much for me. But it's okay because, when I surrendered my life to God, I said, and after the hospital and everything, I said, I had to face those adversities, financially and, trying to find out what I'm entitled to with my benefits. And I was green on everything. I don't know anything about those things. So I was just moving along. But then God gave me to Jesus, his son, which I love so much because he's my role model, he's my teacher, he's my everything, he's my life. I said, him and God promised that all these things are going to happen for me. And Jesus was excited to finally, get a hold of me and be with him. And I got excited too because, financially and at the beginning I suffered a lot, after the hospital. After 4 months being in the hospital, I gained maybe 3-4 pounds. I said, but, I just wanted to get out of the hospital. So my brother said, let me take you to my house and you can spend a couple of days there. I said, no, I want to go back to my apartment. He says, no, you're not ready. So I stayed with him for maybe 2 days and I said, I can't take this. I said, I'll go home. And when I finally got home, I was so at peace, being at home because I said, this is my home. I'm here. I don't have, what I had, everything I had, my appliances, my car and everything, I still had when I got out. But all of a sudden I saw everything disappear. They repoed everything because I could not pay for everything. I was facing eviction from the apartment. I was a couple of days from being evicted from where I lived. And where I lived, it was very small in efficiency, and it was infested with roaches and spiders, and it just wasn't condition for me to get better there at that place. And I cried out to God again because I was facing eviction. I was hungry. I didn't have no money. Nobody was really helping me. But God sent me an angel, and this angel is very special to me, and always will be. I said her name is Ophelia, and when I was in the hospital, before I got to the hospital, I met this girl at a festival, and we kept in touch. And she liked me a lot, and she would come visit me. She lives pretty far from here, about 150 miles. So she would come down and stay over the weekend with me before I got sick, as I was getting sick. Then one day she didn't hear about me, and she couldn't find me. She came to San Antonio looking for me, and she got in my apartment, through the window that was broken, and she found my cell phone. She called the first number, which was my brother, and my brother told her I was in the hospital fighting for my life, so she went straight to the hospital. And she's such a good girl. She is a true angel, and she held my hand. She kissed my head. She prayed for me, and Jesus answered her prayers, to help me get better. She stayed with me in the hospital overnight on the side, holding my hand. And she's just a friend, but she's a very special friend. She brought me things to eat that the hospital wouldn't give me. And she was there for me on the weekends as she went back home and did her, went back to her life. And she would call and then come back and see me. And she was there for me for the first couple of months. Cause I was just about to get evicted, but she said that wasn't gonna happen, because she paid my rent for the next several months and gave me money for food, helped me go to the groceries, gave me a car, gave me a lot of things, to get by while she wasn't here to be able to help me. And so I had to learn how to do everything again. I didn't have a wheelchair, like I said, no crutches or nothing, very limited medication, and all they told me is what I was going to need, but nobody really helped me because I didn't know how. All I know is that I was happy being home. And so the only thing I had with me is that is something I love to do that I grew up with, that I had a whole bunch of weights in my apartment. And I always like to look good, so I stayed fit pretty much in my life. And so I looked at those weights when I was real skinny, and I just started lifting weights every day. And I started with 2 pounds, and I was real skinny, and I was eating ram soups and crackers and peanut butter. It took a while, but my angel Ophelia was there for me through the toughest times. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today telling you this story. I am going to repay her one day and make her life a lot easier, because she is a true angel to me, and she always will be. The reason that she's still alive. So that's the beginning of the first year. And I was there in March, and I got out around June, July. And then I had, financial adversities, and Ophelia was there for me. And, people started giving me secondhand things, like, my dad gave me a wheelchair that was supposed to be my mom's, and gave me some crutches. And, he was very sad about hearing what happened to me. I didn't tell him for a while because I knew it would break his heart. So he cried when he saw me in the hospital, when they finally told him, when he first saw me. He cried a lot. My brothers and sisters were there, everybody was there. And I remember looking at them, and I was crying. I was crying because they were there for me. And so then my dad, most of all, that loves me so much, was very sad about what happened to me. So I knew he would. But he knows me. And he knows I would beat this. He knew I wasn't going to give up. I'm too much like him, the Davila blood. I'm very proud of it. So my dad inspired me as he was aging. And we lost touch for a couple of years until we caught up with each other. And things started to change. But during the first year, right around December, God blessed me. He blessed me with the benefits that I needed to get by, so I won't have to suffer no more. He blessed me and put me in a new apartment complex where I currently live. And it has everything I need here, from a gym to support to anything I need. Everything comes to me. I don't have to get out and work, because it was the best thing that happened to me as I journeyed through what's going on with me in my life and what happened to me. So I love it here. I said, I'm still here. I'm in my 6th year, but I wanted to start from the beginning and tell you how it went with me. At the beginning, I talked about the hospital and the nights in the hospital, and getting out of the hospital, and the people that were in my life, which is Ophelia, and I miss her a lot. I haven't seen her, talked to her in years, and there's a reason behind that, but I got to keep that private. But I will see her one day. I said, meanwhile, I'm moving on, because the second year I was on my own, because the first year she had to move on with her life, and there's a reason. That's why I say it's private. I said, but I had to start doing things on my own, and I had everything I needed to, and it was just enough to buy in the first year. And I moved into this beautiful apartment complex. They just remodeled it. I mean, they built a whole new apartment complex, and I was one of the first ones to move in here. And I live in a disabled apartment that is beautiful. It's perfect for me. I said, I love God for what He did for me. I love what Jesus did for me and set me up and get me ready to, journey through my life and get better. So the second year, I was still lifting weights, and within a year I bulked up. I got real big, lifted weights every day. I had my weight room here. I had everything I needed here. I even have a gym that I go to, and I started using it. So the first year I bulked up and I got better. My immune system kicked in, and I had a lot of things against me. The vitals were all, were out of whack and everything because of the diabetes. So I had a long road ahead of me. So I had to do this on my own. I had to learn a lot of things on my own. So I did a lot of amazing things because of the strength that I have from working out. I still work out currently today, but not as much as I did like in the first 3 years. It showed. You'll see it on my videos. The changes throughout the years. I said, but the second year when I moved here, I was real happy. It's going along, moving along. But I'll continue in chapter 2, second year. Chapter 2, the second year. The second year was not so good of a year for me as I was moving on. Because the new apartment complex where I lived, the people around me, they're evil. They don't believe in God, or they're sinful people. And I had to be by myself to get through all this. So I remained silent for years. But when I did step out, I did meet a couple of people around here. But that was my mistake. I said, because one night, because these people, drink and do drugs and do their thing, and I don't do those things. I said, I heard a lot of commotion outside one night, and I looked out the window, and there was a riot happening with with people, and it had to do with race, and they got into it pretty good here. A lot of people were involved. There was objects being thrown, and a lot of things happening that night, and it went on for about 30 minutes, and the authorities took an hour to get here, and when they got here, it was all over, and people had already been gone, but the damage was done. But after that report, got to the office, and these people kept on, fighting with each other, because the people who got in a fight here in the riot all lived here, so they couldn't avoid not seeing each other every day, even after that event. Well, anyway, the next day, people started talking, and after a while, there was a lady who lived next door to me that she was a mean lady, and she's the reason why the riot started. Because she was a 70-year-old lady, and she was a drunk. She drank every day. Every day she drank beer, and and got into people's business here, and started that terrible fight outside. Well, after everything's said and done about the riot and that lady and involving me and making my life miserable, saying all kinds of ugly things about me and telling people all kinds of things. The last straw for the office was that lady, because they evicted everybody that was here except for her. She was the last one. And while the new people moved in, they had kids and everything. And it hurt me that, she hated me so much that she didn't care. So she went and met those people, and they had kids, and she went and told them that to stay away from me because I was a child molester, and that I molest kids, which none of it was true, and people know that. But she shouldn't have said that, because the office got wind of it, and when she went to go renew her lease, they reminded her of what she had said, and so they told her she could no longer live at this apartment complex, that she has 30 days to move out. So it backfired on her for not keeping to herself and everything else, and she wound up who knows where. But I was so happy to move her away from here, and and all those people that they had hate for me because of all the rumors that were going around. I said, God and Jesus were always with me, and I'm still here today. I said, and living a great life. I said, because they taught me not to get involved. That when God and Jesus are leading your life, I said they take care of all business. Everything that happens, I don't have to worry about nothing. So that's what I did. And as I moved on, after that riot and everything, new people moved in, and they were wonderful people. I got along with everybody here, and they will all help me out. And I had this car that was really, it had its mileage, its years, and it was a car. That's the one my angel Ophelia gave me to get around, to go. I don't have to ask nobody for nothing. So it was barely running. But you know what? That car had so many issues, but it never let me down. But I knew it needed a lot of work, but it never left me stranded. And it got me where I needed to go. It helped me in so many ways, and God blessed me by taking care of me. It did a lot of things for me for the first 3 years. I had her car, and I got better. That second year, I did what I could. I maintained working out, eating better. And this is without medication or nothing. I mean, I bulked up. I mean, I looked healthy, strong. I was really strong. I started, doing miracles on one leg. I can run, bike, swim. I did all those things, and people were just amazed about the things that I was doing with one leg. And most of all, because I'm an independent. No one took care of me. I did everything from cook, wash, clean, shop, whatever I wanted to do. But I only did what was needed because I was embarrassed about being out there in the public. I said the way people stared at me, and because I didn't have a leg and I could hear people talking. I go, it's the worst feeling in the world where people look at you different, and it hurt me a lot because I wasn't used to it. But I kept it going. I had one thing going for me is that I bulked up and I had muscles, and I looked good. And that's what I said when I was in the hospital. I said, I'm gonna get better. I said I need to hit the weights and never stop. I said that's gonna get me out of this mess. And it's true. I said, because look at me today. I'm strong, healthy. I still do things on my own. I said, but I have a lot of help from the benefits that I'm entitled to. I have people that help me, like a provider, and programs that help me, with my life. And I do have a little part-time job nowadays. But that second year, that's how it went. And let that go. And then I started going to church. I asked God. I wanted to educate myself on who they were. So I asked him, how am I going to do this? Do I need to go to school, or what do I need to do? And the Lord said, he goes, no, because my son Jesus will teach you. Just listen to him. I said, okay, Lord. So Jesus took over, and they educated me on so much, because I've read so many books, and I've read the Bible, and it took years. I said, but the Lord let me know what I needed to know, and it's still teaching me today about so many stories and so much about God and Jesus. I said, I'm very happy to know that I'm knowledgeable about who they are, and I don't have to ask a lot of people about this and that. I said, because Jesus taught me. That's why he died on the cross for us, to be our Savior, to be our teacher, to love us, respect, and everything. And he's trying to teach us to be good. He said, but you can only be with him in spirit nowadays. He said, because he's up with his Father, and one day he said he's going to come back, and that's going to be a different story for the whole people and everything else. He said, under your life to God and Jesus Christ, miracles do happen. But you have to learn how to do that if you don't know how. Chapter 3, the third year. After going through everything I went through the second year, all the things that happened here at the apartment complex where I lived, I explained it in chapter 2. The third year was a lot better for me as things got, went forward and got a little bit better for me. The third year went pretty smooth. Was able to be at peace after everything, that happened was behind me. I stayed in the gym working out. Things started to change for me at that time in the third year. I would sit outside all the time thinking about, what am I going to do? where am I going to end up? What kind of job am I going to have? I had no idea of a lot of things that I didn't know how I was going to go. But God is good, and God blessed me with a lot of things as the years went by. And in the third year, it was more like at peace, where I lived in the gym. I have weights here in my apartment that I work out with, and I have the gym here at the apartment complex where I also work out. And I kind of mix everything up, and so I would work out every day, and I would sit outside and think about what's my next step, and where am I at in my life in the third year. So that's how the third year went, just working out, getting information about more benefits, getting ready to, start looking for employment. And I did that towards the end of the third year, started thinking about getting a job. I mean, I had people helping me out, like my provider, the SNAP programs, the government programs that I'm entitled to, I had to renew everything, and as the years went by to see if there was any changes. I had to learn to do all these things, I said, and it was very hard, to be able to keep up with all those things as I move forward in my life. Towards the end of the year, my third year, like I said, I was looking for work, and I applied at Walmart or all the places where I see where they hire disabled people, period. And I went and applied, and no one hired me, and I felt bad because I was just looking for a little bit more money to have, because it was a struggle the first 3 years, limited to my finances and all these things that I had to pay. I said it was very, very hard. I said, but my provider told me about a company called Uber, and I looked into it, and I got on board with Uber as a part-time driver. I had a good car that my dad helped me co-sign for. The end of the year ended, the third year ended with me, becoming an Uber driver in my fourth year. My dad had helped me get that car. I started, my dad started coming into the picture in the fourth year. So, go ahead and stop it. After the third year, the third year was great, with a lot of things that happened. I was moving forward in my life. I ended the third year, really good going into the fourth year. So when the fourth year came around, my dad started to come in the picture in my life. I said, because we weren't in touch. I was letting him live his own life, with his girlfriend that he had. And, things happened because he was getting old, and his girlfriend upset my dad, and he needed help. And even though I was struggling, with my situation, with the things that I had, especially the car that I had, well, when that started to happen, my dad helped me get a car. He co-signed for me, and we started doing a lot of things every month and sharing a lot of time together. I remember that, when his girlfriend left him, he was so depressed, and he's an elderly man towards the end of his life. He didn't have very much support from his family, and I took effort into helping my dad in what he needed towards the end of his life, and spent a lot of time with my dad while he was alone. I had plans for him to live next door to me, and we were working on all those things. I said I would go see him at the hospital and at the rehabilitation centers that they had him in, until they could figure out a place for him to stay. As I spent a lot of time with my dad, we talked about a lot of things, and we laughed, and I asked my dad one day, I said, "Are you proud of me, Dad?" He said, "I'm very proud of you, son." I said, and that made me cry. I said, because I told him I was very proud. I loved him, and I'm very proud of him. I said, and I'm with him. Whatever he wants, whatever he needs, I'll do my best to get him what he wants. Excuse me. At the same time, my own brothers and sisters, because I was spending so much time with my dad and making decisions for him, I said when he got out of the rehab center, he needed a place to stay. And my little, his own daughter, the youngest daughter, said that she would take him in. to her house, and she lives in a ranch, and she's got the room and everything like that. So my dad agreed and went over there, but he called me and told me he was very unhappy because, one, the way they were treating him, and he needed more help than what they were giving him. And I heard it from my sister, the younger daughter, my sister, that my dad was a pain, and that because he's old and he can't take care of himself, that it was frustrating for her, and her husband at their house, that they didn't give him very much, and because he was accidentally doing the restroom in his pants, and he needed help here and there. They felt like it was too much, like my dad was a burden. So what they did is, my dad told me he wanted out of there and he wanted to come stay with me, and I couldn't have him here because I'm on disability, and it was very hard to do that at that moment. But I was working on it, and they kicked him out of the house because all those things that my dad was encountering at their house. It was very uncomfortable for him, and he just wanted out of there. He wanted his own place. So after my sister kicked him out, and my other sister, they got together and they put my dad in an apartment complex right down the road from here, when he could have been right next door to me. My sisters and my family talked so bad about my dad. I heard it from every single one of them, and it hurt my dad when my dad needed them and he needed the love and care that he deserved, but he didn't get it from them. But he did get it from me. I said, because I have a passion for God and Jesus Christ, and I know and I follow them, and my family does not. And so that's the difference between me and them. So we clashed, and I tried to bring my dad over here. They finally put him in an apartment down the road from here, and they just went and dropped him off. They didn't change his information or nothing. They said they'll be back and this and that. And so I took the effort to go help my dad, and I remember where he lived. It was all right, but it could have been better here. But I would go and take him grocery shopping, and I had to go flights up the steps with my wheelchair, and I was still working on my own life in that 4th year. But I enjoyed it because I spent a lot of time with my dad, and we were really comfortable about our conversations and our love and everything, and we talked about a lot of things, and I was always there for him to comfort him, and I would hug him and kiss him, and I told him I was sorry for my actions while growing up. But he forgave me. I even had him where he's not a very religious man. Excuse me. But I almost had him where he was going. He was going to church with me on Sunday, but we never got to that point. But he had made the day he wanted to go. So I would pray for him all the time, that God help him, and towards the end of his life. So I was there at the rehabilitation center, and we were laughing and having a great time. When it was time for him to get out, they put him in that apartment complex down the road. Yeah, I was worried about my dad, when he was at that apartment, because, I took effort to go and help him out with his groceries and whatever he wanted. And he had just given me, co-signed for me to get that car. I took him with me one day because he didn't want me struggling with the other car I had, because I had a lot of problems with it. It's the one my angel gave me, and it had about 1 million miles on it. But I can honestly say that I know God and Jesus were with me because it never let me down. It never broke down on me. And if it did, it broke down here at the apartment, but it never left me stranded. And it got everything done, from taking my dad wherever he wanted to go. Until one day the car blew up, and that's when he said, let's go see if we can get you a car. And I remember when we were trying to get that car, I told my dad, when my car blew up finally, the old one, I said, Dad, I'm not going to be able to pick you up no more. I said, because my car's had it. I don't have no other source of any way to help myself or anything or anybody. I said, so I was sad, I was watching TV, I was watching a commercial, and there was a dealership that came up, and they said they can help anybody. So I called them, and I told them the information. They said, well, can you come down here? So I went down there, and they gave me good news and said, you can have this car here, a 2015 Mitsubishi Mirage. Says you can have that with 0 down and everything. He says, and we'll take your car and get rid of it for you. And he goes, you'll be able to walk out with this if you can get your dad to co-sign for you, because your income's not enough. So with yours and his income, it is enough. So I was all excited, and I went and told my dad, and he said, well, let's go get it. And so we went back, and the car was still moving. I don't know how. I mean, it lost a lot of oil and all the fluids, and it was in the red. And we went all the way down there, and steam was coming out. And we did everything, and it took all day. But my dad was feeling ill, so I said, I'll be back, and I'm gonna take him home. So when I did that, I went back to the dealership, and I stayed there till 10 o'clock at nighttime while they tried to figure out how they can make this work for me. I said, with my bad credit and everything I owe, with no money down and everything against me, I said, there is a true God, and they love me a lot, I said, because they made it happen for me that night. I drove out that night in a brand new 2015 Mitsubishi Mirage, which is perfect for me. I said, and I cried that night. I said, because I couldn't believe that I was in a brand new car during a situation where, it would have been hard for me to do anything. There was nobody to help me and take me here and there and there and here when I was doing fine. So the Lord, I know, blessed me with this brand new car, and it made me cry. I said, and I cried myself to sleep that night, but with a big smile on my face. And I called my dad, and I told him, Dad, I'm gonna go pick you up. I said, we can go anywhere you want. I said, nobody's gonna stop us now. I said, we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna have a lot of fun now. And so he was happy for me while that was happening. But as we went forward, when he moved into the apartment complex, I said, I was very upset at my family, I said, because of the way they were treating him. And I remember it was during the holidays, and, I thought that, that my sisters and, other people were going to go see him at his apartment and help him out. And, I stayed away because, we weren't getting along. And I stayed away thinking I'll see him in a couple of days. Well, a couple of days went by, and I knew something was wrong. Because I called and he wouldn't answer, and I just thought, oh, he's having a good time with his daughters and other people. I said, but that wasn't the case. I said, I went over there during the week, and thinking that he's going to be all high up and everything else, in good spirits and everything like that. But this was the saddest time of my life ever that broke my heart about the way it happened towards him. His last days of his life. I went over there to this apartment complex, and I knocked on the door, and I could hear somebody say, help, help. I said, oh no. I said, he's in trouble. He must have fell. He can't get up. So I went to the office, and I told him, I said, my dad's in trouble. I said, can you please help me get in his apartment? So we went to his apartment, and they had to call the authorities to come in and help assist. So they did that. But when that happened, and I finally got in there, I said, it really broke my heart. I said, when I went in there, and I saw my dad on the ground with his adult diaper on, and he was on the floor for 3 days during the holidays, with no food, no shirt, no socks, and on the floor in the kitchen because he couldn't get up because he fell. And he was on the ground with roaches and water all over. Something happened in his kitchen. There was water everywhere. And he was there for 3 days. And that hurt me, I said, because my dad was a good man. He deserved a lot better than what my family put him through. But I'm not worried, I said, because God knows the truth. When I saw my dad on the ground when we finally got into the apartment, I said, that broke my heart. I said, it broke it in so many pieces. I said, I was so hurt by that because of my dad, because he didn't deserve that. I was thinking of all kinds of things about how come he ended up that way. And he's got family, and I was the only one that took effort to step up and help him when he really, really needed it. I said, and look at me, I was dealing with my own issues, being an amputee and moving on. I said, but nothing stopped me from being with my dad towards the end of his life. I said, it went the way it went. I said, I supported him. I said, I spent a lot of time with him. And, it was wonderful. I said, we talked about a lot of things. And one thing I asked my dad when he was in rehab, in one of our discussions, I told him I was sorry for, all the things that I did in my life to make his life miserable. I said, Dad, I need to ask you something. I said, before you go from this world, I said, Dad, are you proud of me? I said, do you love me? And my dad told me, yes, I do love you, son. He goes in, I forgive you for everything. He says, but I am proud of you. He says, he didn't say much after that. I was just so hurt, that day at the apartment when all that happened. They took him to the hospital, and that's when he went through a lot of things in the hospital towards the end of his life. He was not going to come out no more and live in his own apartment, which disappointed him. And I was trying to make the best of it. Still fighting with my brothers and sisters and what they call power of attorney and all these things that, they wanted to take control when they felt like it. But my dad needed everything at that time. I said, and I did the best I could to be with him. And I struggled a lot. And fighting with my brothers and sisters over this, about what was best for my dad, so it was very difficult. I said, but I know I did good with my dad. I did the best I could, and towards the end of his life. And I'm very happy that I was able to tell him a lot about, that point where he's getting ready to go be with God and be with the rest of his family and his wife that he missed so dearly. I said, and all the angels and everybody. I said, I was prepared him from all that. And I was very happy that, I prayed for him all the time that, he's ready to go. So that moment happened that night. He was in hospice, and, my brothers and sisters accused me of all kinds of things, and that hurt me a whole lot. My eyes were swollen at that time for a long time, being with my dad. I was fighting it. I was getting sick. I was struggling. I said, but I still made effort to take my dad, food that he liked and everything, and, doing it the way I did it with crutches and, holding on to his food with no leg. I said, it was very hard, I said, to walk around like that and take things to my dad. But nothing was going to stop me. Like the times when he was at the apartment and he needed food and stuff like that. I took effort to go, and I had flights of steps to go through. And it was very hard. It was very hard because, the steps, and I'm in my wheelchair, but, I figured out how to do things for myself. So I know I could do it for my dad. So I would carry the groceries and put them down and get up and pull, one by one, put the bags up, and I would get into his apartment. Excuse me. But he wanted to help, but I told him, no, Dad, go sit down. I said, I'll get this done. So I finally did. Got him his food and everything. I said, I'll see you tomorrow, Dad. So that's when everything went down at that time. So his last days in hospice, it was 4 in the morning, and there was a thunderstorm going on that night. And I got a call saying that my dad's ready to go. And so I rushed to the hospice where he was at, and I saw all my family and people there, doing their thing with their dad. I said, and all the hate and everything I could feel, they were upset with me with so many things that happened during that time. But I stayed focused, and I stayed with God and Jesus, and they said, just go right through them like they're not there. He says, and go straight to your father. He said, and give him your blessings. He said, because he's about to go. So I did what God and Jesus wanted me to do. And so at 4 in the morning, I was there, and I walked right through it, through my family, while everybody moved out of the way, and I didn't even look at them. I went straight to my dad, and I kissed him on the forehead. And I talked to him a little bit, whispering in his ear that I was excited because I just got my prosthetic. And he smiled a little bit, because I was at that point. And so when I left that night and I came home, the following day I got a call saying that, he passed away. He went to go be with the Lord. So the process happened where, the rosary and the funeral were the last things about this part with my dad, this part of life with my dad. And so I went to the rosary, and the rosary on my part was good because of the words that I said about my dad. But I was very disappointed in what my brothers and sisters and everybody else said, my nieces and everything. They acted like it was funny to them, and that very upset me because they just didn't respect him. And, to me, it hurt me a lot. So I said beautiful words about my dad because I knew what was going on. I knew angels were here to protect my dad and get him ready to take him to heaven. I said, but meanwhile, my family was, disrespecting them. I said it was hard to be in there with them. And the reason I know is because I sat by myself on the left side while everybody who was against me sat on the right side. But I had the most powerful, which is God and Jesus, with me, so I wasn't afraid. I also took my cousin Ann, who supported me and went with me and sat with me, and went with me because she was with me while my family was making it very hard on me. I said, so after that happened, I went home, and the funeral came up, and I went to the funeral, and they buried him, and it was my mom, his wife, and they're next to each other, and they even have a spot for me in the future. As soon as I have money and stuff like that, I'm going to go and see if I can get a plot with them, because I'm the only one that's going to be buried with them and have that opportunity. So right after that, I mean, everything was released. I didn't have to deal with my family no more. I didn't have to deal with anybody. I just had to focus on moving on with my life, which I did. So after that, the weeks went by, the months went by, and it hurt. But I did learn to move on as I was still working on my own life, about trying to get better. You know, things started to change for me. It said in the 4th year, I got more benefits, you know, that I needed, which was my provider and, you know, other things that happened for me that helped me in my life as I moved on. Well, it was time for me to start looking for work, and I went to Walmart, HEB, I went to several places to apply. Everybody told me no because I'm disabled. I was hurt by that. And so I went home, and you know, somebody told me about a company called Uber Riding Services here in San Antonio. So I logged in to see what they're all about, and I had a brand new car. So I said, this might be perfect for me. So I went to my brother-in-law to help me, you know, get logged in and this and that. So we went so far until finally I went to the main office here in San Antonio. And they had just opened up because they were pretty much new here in San Antonio. And so I hopped on board with Uber, and I've been with them for 2 years part-time. And it's been good enough to put food on my, a little bit of money to buy me the things that I need that I didn't have before. I said things were starting to change for me. Then I had a provider that came in, and she would wash and clean and, you know, and do these things for me. And I went through 3 providers, I said, because these women that took care of me were people that I knew, but they're very sinful, and, you know, I've changed my life. I'm with God and Jesus. And these people were just living a selfish life and evil at that. And they brought that into my apartment here, which I said, they're disrespecting them because all they wanted to do was drink and, you know, bring their problems to me. And while I'm living a wonderful life moving on. So I decided to get rid of them. So I was on my own again, but it's not like I haven't been there before. You ask anybody who sees me around me, what kind of life I live. You know, I cook, I wash, you know, I take care of my bills. I do what I can with limited funds, you know. I mean, Social Security is all I get, and it's not much. I said, so I make things happen, work, and, you know, and I was starving until Uber came along and made a difference in my life. And so as I moved on in that 4th year working for Uber and by myself, I started eating better. You know, I was still on medication, and I had a lot of medications, but I didn't like them. I was getting worse by the medication, but I didn't realize that I was listening to my doctor. And as I moved forward, you know, I stayed in the gym. You know, I was getting better. But in my 5th year, after all that, you know, what happened with my dad and all the things and the fighting and everything else, and being a diabetic on medication and being hurt so much and so bad that I wound up in the hospital again one night because my right foot got infected, and it started over again with gangrene, and it was because of a combination of things, and the stress and the hurt and the pain and all these things. I was hurt being in the hospital that night and staying in the hospital for 2 weeks. And doctors told me they were going to have to amputate my toe. First they said my whole foot, and I said no. I said, it's not infected, just my toe. I said, because you guys took your time, and it got infected worse within a week. I said, so I lost my toe. I said, and I was hurt about it, but you know what? I didn't give up. I knew God and Jesus were with me, and they said, don't worry. He said, it's going to get better for you. And so I kept my faith and spirit with them, and as soon as I got out of the hospital, well, I went to wound care, which was very good for my surgery, and it closed up my foot because I stayed there a month, and it was horrible. With the things I had to go through just to save my foot, this and that. Well, anyway, it happened where I got better, and I went back to work with Uber, and I was making some money now, and saving my money and buying the things that I need, and I went, things were getting a lot better, and they are a lot better. I mean, I have everything I need. I said, I'm not stressing no more. I said, I learn more and more about God and Jesus every day that I wake up. I want to know. I communicate with them 24/7. They're my life. So that's where I'm at my 5th year with everything behind me. And I'm going into my 6th year where I'm currently at. It's cold season, so excuse me. I'm in my 6th year, and things are a lot better. I have more things now, but I still don't make enough to be able to afford my therapy program and other things that I really, really need. I said, because I'm only limited to how I can work for several reasons. I said, one of them is because of my benefits. I said, they'll take away all my benefits, and I need those. I said, and second is that, I have little money to be able to buy the things that I need. But also, I gotta watch out for my health. I said, because I am a diabetic. I said, but I'm doing a lot better now where it's way down. I said, today I find myself not taking no more meds. I told the doctor said, stop taking your medication. Because the medication was actually making me worse with my kidneys and liver, and I felt it. I didn't want to take that medicine, but I was under my primary doctor, and that's what he recommended. But when I got off of my meds, and I've been off of meds for about 5 months already, I feel great. I feel a lot better. I don't feel my kidneys. I see God and Jesus' miracle working on me to give me this blessed life. And after everything that I've been through, I said, they got me through everything. And here I am telling you the story. So there's so much that I left out, while I was telling you my story. But I have a chapter where I'm going to talk about those things, and they're mostly testimonies. And that chapter is all about God and Jesus and my testimonies. You want to hear that one before I end the story. But that's where I'm at, you guys. I have a website set up. I said I'm going to be on TV soon. I have a lot of things happening. The YouTube channel. I'm putting out a lot of videos. I'm going to do a lot more about my life and about my prosthetic and see how I can help people in this situation. There's so many things that are going to happen in my future, so I'm going to end the story this way and wait for some more information about this story as I move along. But for right now, you guys, thank you very much for listening to my story. I love you guys and I respect you guys. I said, just listen to my story and help me in any which way. I said, but when you go to my YouTube channel, which is Paul Davila III, I said, go to my website and it's got a ton of information. So I'm going to let you decide what you think about this story and how you can help me in any way. I said, yes, I do need the help. I said, could you be the one watching this, be the one that God blesses to bless me and the things that I need to move on with my life and so many things that I want to do. I said, when you go to my website, you'll see everything. So if you have any questions or anything, I said, you can get in touch with me with that information. So again, I would just say thank you to the bottom of my heart about listening to my story. I'm in my 6th year, a lot more things going on, and I want to end it with, giving all the credit and everything to God and Jesus Christ for what they've done for me in my life. I said, but before I get started to tell you about all the things that they've done for me throughout the years in this story, I said I want to say a little prayer. So pray with me, or I'm just going to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, Lord, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Amen. I'm going to pray in silence, for everybody in the world who's suffering in this world and all God's creation. So I'm going to take a moment to just pray for everybody and everything. So I just prayed for everybody in the world and all God's creation. And I know that I prayed to God and Jesus Christ, who's leading my life and who's made my life so much better. So I just prayed for you guys and hope that you guys do better in your life. So I will begin talking about what they've done for me in the 5 years or 6 years that it took me where I'm at today, about my life and everything that happened. I said I'll do it very, briefly and short about every year. But I did leave a lot of things out that'll be said in the future in my book coming up, where I can concentrate more about in detail about all the things that really were there. I think the first year, when I was in the hospital, God came to me and we talked and we had a conversation about my future and he told me a lot of things that were going to happen in my life, and he kept his promise. And so the second year, I was working out, and things happened during that year, just getting going with my life. But God and Jesus were always there with me to lead me and take care of me and make sure that all the right things were happening for me. I said in the third year, I said things happened, and God and Jesus were always with me through the troubles that happened during that time. I said in the fourth year, God gave me, things and the strength and everything to go through what I went through in the fourth and fifth years that had to do with my dad. I said they gave me the strength and power. I said it took a lot out of me. I said, but the power of God and Jesus, I said, helped me through all this. I said, and they're still helping me. And that's why all this chapter I dedicated to God and Jesus Christ. I said, because I'm telling you things that happened, and everything happened because they were leading my life, and they were always there with me because God promised me from the beginning. In my fifth year, I went through it with my dad towards the end of his life, and I made it because God and Jesus Christ were there with me. I said they blessed me with so many things, and they felt my suffering, but they never let me down because I had the spirit of God and Jesus Christ in my heart. They know me, they trust me, they love me, and they help me, and they made me somebody special. I said in the sixth year, I said a lot of amazing things happen again, and they still happen. I cry a lot because they blessed me with so many things that I will say in my book in the future that I'm not saying at the moment. I said, because there's so much more that's happened. I said, but I'm doing good, you guys, and hopefully I could be an inspiration to you guys in any which way that I can. I said, but I will have a lot of things happening in the future, and I will be talking about God and Jesus in so many ways that will hopefully help you in your life. As I put out more videos, I said, in different areas, I said, a lot of things are happening in the future. I plan to have multiple businesses to support the Outreach Foundation Center that I'm going to start up in the future, helping people, nonprofit, with technology and networking and tons of resources. I said, all this is happening because God and Jesus Christ are making it happen. It's going to happen, and I'm gonna be so happy to be able to help so many people in so many different ways, because many people are going to come my way to support that. I said, and see where I'm leading with this. I said, and we're going to try to make this better for the community and people in this world that are suffering in so many different ways. I said, Jesus and God know what's going on. I said, but they need people like me, that they can trust to go out there and, reach the people. I said, and that's what I've been doing, since I was little, really, but even more nowadays. I said, because once you surrender your life to God, I said, everything changes. I said, and Jesus, leading your life, and teaching you and loving you and respecting you and laughing with you and doing everything. I said, he's the best role model you could ever ask for. I said, that's why if you read the story, about what happened from the beginning and what God wanted, you'll understand a lot about life. I said, so in the future, look out for my videos coming out, because I will be talking a little bit about what I know about God and Jesus. And, it's fascinating to me. And, the love I have for them, and the respect and everything, I said, it wins my heart. I said, and they know that. I said, so I just want to thank God and Jesus Christ for everything that they've done for me and continue doing for me. So follow me on my YouTube channel as I put out more information. I said, a lot of things are going to happen, like I said, and I'm just taking my time and loving life. I said, and I got to do it like this. I said, but I can do anything possible with God and Jesus Christ, leading your life. So that's why I have so much love for them. I said, I thank you very much for listening to my story, and be looking out for more videos and more exciting things happening in my life as I move on with this. I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. How you doing, guys? It's a beautiful Sunday here in San Antonio, Texas. I'm on my way to St. Paul's Catholic Church to give my thanks to God and Jesus Christ for all the blessings they've given me, and to receive my communion, and to pray for all the people and everybody that's suffering in this world. I thank you very much for supporting me in so many different ways. I hope more people support me as I move forward in my life. So I'm on my way to St. Paul's, so I'm going to stop here until we get there, and then we'll go to the Mass and everything, and we'll end this story on a good note. Well, here I am at St. Paul's Catholic Church. I've arrived, and I'm getting ready to go into Mass and give my blessings to God for everything that they've done for me, all the blessings they've given me for being in my life. So I'm going to go do my things and pray and receive my communion, and ask God for forgiveness of my sins, and to just bless me even more. We're here at St. Paul's Church, and we're in the church, and I'm here with Jesus Christ. I'm going to pray to him and pray for everybody in the world, and start thanking him for everything they've done for me. So I'm going to go into a little prayer silently, and then I'll say a couple of words after that. Thank you. Jesus, I have one more prayer, and that's to pray for all creation, all God's creation in this world, that they get better in whatever they're doing. If they're in trouble, to seek you, Lord, and to learn about you, and to respect you and love you, and to find out who you are, and to be with you and stay with you, Lord. So I pray for all those people in need, and again, Lord, I can't thank you enough, and I never will stop thanking you for everything that you're doing in my life. So I hope everything works out for a lot of people like it's worked out for me. So I'm going to stop right now here and get ready for Mass and receive my communion. And hopefully you guys will see that communion. And I'll end the video at the end, and I'll have a couple of words before I end the whole story and the video. So I'll see you there. the end of my testimony, and I hope you enjoyed my story about a true event that happened to me in 2012. I want to thank God and Jesus Christ for making this all possible. And I also want to thank James who made this happen for me and is doing a lot of things for me, the producing and editing. And he's really worked hard towards this, and I believe in him. I call him my vice president and my manager because that's what he truly is to me. So I want to thank you guys for supporting me on my story, and hope that you support me in the future with my future videos coming out. They're going to be awesome and amazing in different areas, so you want to stay tuned in. So if you do, let me know your comments and everything, and if you need more videos put out about certain videos, place your comments and let me know. I will make more videos. I'll be as inspiring as I can to the people on my YouTube channel. So I look forward to seeing so many people and having you help me move forward in my life and all the things that are happening, which I'm after the outreach, the Davila Outreach Foundation here in San Antonio, Texas. That I need a lot of support to hopefully launch it in 2019 or 2020 as soon as I can, to start helping people in my community and all over the world with inspiring words and leading them to God and Jesus Christ to help them in their life. So stay tuned on my YouTube channel for upcoming videos. And again, I want to thank you for supporting me. So I just want to say, God bless the whole world, God bless America, and God bless you. And do the right thing and change your life while you have a chance, and kneel and repent and surrender your life to God and experience His true blessings. And follow Him and listen to what God wants you to do with His Son, Jesus Christ, who did so much for us that you don't know about. But if you follow me, I will talk as much as I can to make sense of everything for you, so you can be a follower and a believer and change your life, because my story in my life has really been changed because of God and Jesus Christ, and they're everything for me, leading my life, and I live a great life. So again, tune into my YouTube channel and follow me, and God bless you guys.